thank you for this momentous occasion and on to victory. And on 11/3 of 20, we're going to save our nation. So, I'm not going to further this conversation, but I want to introduce to you, some people don't think labor unions exist. They are alive and well. And right now, Charlie, we have it cut out for us, but we're going to win. So the next man coming up is Charlie Fleming, the notable Charlie Fleming, and he is the state president of the Afl-Cio.
Thank you, Renee. Oops, sorry. First of all, let me bring greetings on behalf of the Georgia Afl-Cio. Our Secretary Treasurer, Yvonne Robinson, is right over there waving. And we're really excited that President Weingartner and the AFT has chosen to come to Georgia. Normally during the election cycles, we don't get a lot of folks nationally that come down to Georgia, but this year's different. And we've got an opportunity, as Renee has said, to change this country. We have an opportunity to change this state, and we're working extremely hard to make that happen. We're blessed. We've got some great candidates. I know tomorrow the Georgia AFL will surpass over 100,000 phone calls to our members, which is exciting. We've done 4 statewide mailings. We've done a number of targeted mailings to help with our local district races, and we're just really excited. The good news is we got 2 great Senate candidates, Reverend Warnock, who is going to get in a runoff, and we are going to be asking you to come back out because that race won't end until January. But then we also have John Ossoff, who is a good friend of ours. We supported John when he ran for the special congressional seat a couple years ago, and you know, both of those gentlemen, they support the HEROES Act, they support good health care for our members, they support you, the teachers, and quality public education, and so we couldn't be prouder. So we got 6 days. I'm asking you to help us volunteer. We need to keep phone banking up to next Tuesday, and then unfortunately we got to be prepared just in case the president doesn't accept his defeat, and we are going to beat the president. We're going to have a new president next week. So with that, I just want to say thank you for all that you do for the Georgia labor movement, all that the AFT does for us nationally, and we look forward to victory on Tuesday. God bless you. Thank you.
We also want to take this opportunity to thank President Kevin Swanson of IBEW for these beautiful facilities and everybody that's helping us today, and Robbie. But I don't know how much to say about this lady. We have been watching her for a while. And come November the 3rd and before, we are going to vote our oaths off. We're going to vote our oaths off. Let me hear you say oaths off. Oaths off. The wonderful woman that's coming up right now is responsible for this great man, John Ossoff. And a prophet is not honored in their own home unless it's John Ossoff, because this woman knows how to raise a child, how to educate a child. I was reading her bio. I said, doggone it, she ought to be running too. Too bad we can't have 2 folk in that seat. So right now, let me bring up Mrs. Heather Ossoff. Good afternoon.
Or not. Try again. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here this afternoon. And thanks for being a group of people that we don't have to implore that you adhere to social distancing. I mean, you know, what is that all about? We'll talk about it later. But anyway, thanks for being here, and thanks for the bag of goodies. I can't wait to look and see what's in there. As Vidae said, you know, I'm John Ossoff's mum, I'm a lot of things, but that's the thing about which I'm the most proud. And I'm going to keep my mask off as I speak, simply because it suits me, and I don't think you'd understand me as well with it on. Do you mind? So stay back, and I promise not to spit, ladies. Anyway, I'm here because Jonathan, well, we call him Jonathan at home. Jonathan couldn't be here because he's down in Savannah getting ready for the second debate this evening. Did any of you see the first debate? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to share one thing with you. There's a new game, and that is every time that you hear Purdue say socialist, radical socialist, you have to take a drink. So it's either a Diet Coke or a cup of tea or something heavier. But you can't play this game if you're going to be driving later. So anyway, so that's the new game. That's to make it interesting there. He's going to be there with John. They're going to be live, and you're going to be able to see it, I believe, on WTOC, which is the CBS affiliate from Savannah, and probably it's all over Facebook where you can see it. They'll got live streaming from their website, WTOC, and they're live streaming on Facebook, as I understand it, and that may change. As you know, these things do change. Anyway, a little bit about me. Why does she talk so funny? And I'll just get rid of that one right away so you're not worrying about it. I was born in Australia, and anyway, I only lived there a while because I was fortunate enough to travel a great deal with my dad, who was in government service. So anyway, so that's that part of it. I've been in Atlanta a long time. I've been a long-time activist here, and I'm also a co-founder of a PAC called New Power PAC. And what we're all about is getting women to run for political office all over the state of Georgia. And growing up in a household like that, where there were all kinds of feminists and ratbags and people arguing about politics around the kitchen table, John grew up around that, you know, crawling under the kitchen table, crawling under the dining room table, sitting on someone's lap, listening to the conversations about Title IX, about the rape crisis center that we put in at Grady, about, you name it, reproductive health, all of those things. So it's no surprise to us, to my husband and to me, that sooner or later, John took a turn into this area of being not only a supporter of politics, but a doer, and a man that we think is going to be able to do things, or is going to fight until he's bloody, getting it done, trying to get it done. So I'm here to represent John, and the reason I brought notes was because I wanted to make it his agenda, not mine, so forgive me. I also want to pay particular attention to the amazing campaign that he's put together, the staff, the volunteers, the supporters, and just a professional group all the way into it. And it really pays off this week because it's a madhouse this week, as you can well imagine. It's crazy. Anyway, so Jonathan's down in Savannah. He asked me, you know, maybe a lapse of judgment to come and represent him, but we'll see in a couple of minutes, eh? You'll let me know? Well, the first thing I want to acknowledge is the obvious, and that is our thanks, his thanks, for all of you as educators. As educators, as people who support educators, people who revere educators, as we do, and thank you for what you're doing. Everybody knows that you are the unsung heroes of this fight this year, not only on the pandemic side, but budget-wise, but I mean, I don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it. I talk to mums and can't understand how they do it, doing that homeschooling business. It's a miracle to me how you do it. And so my hat's off to you, and thank you so much. And I'm afraid you're going to have to keep it up on and off for a long time to come yet. As so many families have learned, our educators, as I said, are our unsung heroes. And you help propel our sons and our daughters to a better future. And we really believe this. And I'm going to tell a story. Oh, golly gracious, this is being filmed. Never mind, not that story. I'll tell you later. But anyway, teachers have had an important role in our family. Let me just kind of sum it up that way. In my husband's family especially, and that's a story I will tell you later, but also in Jonathan's life, he has always been friends with his teachers. And I mean, an example is, who do you know whose headmistress from elementary school still has fundraisers for him? Who do you know whose headmaster from high school still has fundraisers for him? And it's because he's maintained those relationships that were so important to him back then and have continued to be important to him. He would come back to Atlanta from college and I'd say, oh, you know, what are you doing today? You know, during a break or something. Oh, I'm going to go to lunch with Paul, with his headmaster. And I would look at that and think, that is weird as all get out. But no, it's something that was important to him that he did, has always done, and it represents the fact that he gets it. He really understands that his teachers have been so influential in all the major steps that he's taken in his life. And for a young man, he's taken a lot of them. He's had a very, very interesting life. I'm also here because you've already alluded to it, and that is we've got to do what? Vote. 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 Louder. Vote. We've got to vote. A lot of us are feeling these days like, oh, Ossoff, he's got it in the bag. You know, so many people, everybody I talk to, they say they're voting for Ossoff. Not so. Not so. Not only are not everyone, I mean, as his mum, I think, what's the matter with those people? But the other part of it is that people think that, oh, golly gracious, I don't want to go through those long lines. I don't want to, I don't want to take time off work if you come from a company that, doesn't allow you to take off work. I don't want to get in that. I went on Monday, I live in DeKalb County, and honest to goodness, I was in and out without a single minute of wait. I mean, it was great. It was great. And the people were terrific. And, it was an absolute pleasure. Now, I did drive 15 minutes further than I needed to, just because I wanted that good experience. And you can tell in a lot of the counties have websites that tell you how long you've got to wait. So if you haven't voted yet, I do recommend that you check that out. Well, here we are on the eve of something that is going to change our country. It's going to change it for the better, or if you can imagine it worse, it might even go worse than what it is. And Jonathan knows that the teachers are going to be responsible for seeing a lot of this happen. That you have a place in, as you look at the issue of health care, you have a place as you look at the issue of our economy, you have a major place as you look at our country's basic decency, or lack of it, and our education. In Greek, the word soul is psyche, which I think is so much more interesting. But the psyche of our country is in the hands of our teachers. And that is truly the human soul. And it really is an important responsibility. And we've got to do all that we can to make sure that we don't risk that. And it begins in the classroom. And our educators are shaping our future leaders, and you deserve better. You deserve a senator who will fight for public education and put teachers first. You deserve a secretary of education who actually cares about public schools, who actually understands about public schools. And trust me, as you said, I raised Jonathan right. I only had one go at this. Some people come up to me and say, well, is he your only child? And I'm thinking, they think I could take two like that? You're joking. But I did raise him right. I'm the mum who said to him every morning from the time he went off to kindergarten all the way through high school, the last thing he heard when he went out the door was his mum saying, be kind to someone, every day. And last year, or not last year, but last campaign, if you'll remember, that was one of his key messages, was to be kind to people. And I see even now on Amazon, you can buy T-shirts that say John Ossoff and be kind to one another. So I know that he has the values and the heart to get this thing done. and he represents your values and your heart, and he will fight for you and for me. And I'm pretty unapologetic about it. I really think that he's, not just from the mum's point of view, but I really think he's the right man for the job. He's ready for prime time. That is for sure. And we need change, and John's going to fight to deliver that change. And with Reverend Warnock and Carolyn Bordeaux and with Lucy and with, Congressman Hank and all our friends going up to Washington, what a team we are going to have representing Georgia. I mean, it gives you cold chills, doesn't it? Think about it. Going up to Washington and going to any of those offices and being welcomed, being listened to. With someone, Jonathan's already had, I think, 34 town halls since he's been running for office. Purdue, in 6 years, never had a town hall. I mean, I just don't get it. Anyway, we need change. He's going to deliver change. And in America today, equality of opportunity is not a reality. This is not news to you. But in so many ways, that inequality starts with our education system. And I'm telling you things that you know because I want you to understand that Jonathan knows these things too. There's so much that we can do to fix our education system. And I want to tell you a little bit about his plans. First off, he thinks teachers are rock stars. And he'll work for and support increasing teacher pay. He also knows, like so many of you, that oftentimes a community's schools are tied to the community's wealth. And it's wrong, and it holds us back. And that's why John will work to break the link between community wealth and funding for public schools. He's also going to fight for free trade school and vocational training for every American, because a four-year degree isn't right for all of us or for all of our kids. And in Australia, it's interesting. We don't look at college as being the be-all and end-all. We do look at some other kind of technical training after high school as the objective. Jonathan's pointed out to me that a trade school certification means the difference between a $10 an hour job and a $40 hour a job plus benefits. And if we don't provide that, we are cheating so many people in our communities and in our state. And to make higher education more accessible, John is going to fight for debt-free public college, including both public and private HBCUs. I don't know if you know, but Jonathan, after college and before he went off to grad school, worked about 5 or 6 years as a legislative aide to Congressman Hank Johnson in Washington. And the congressman had a passion for supporting HBCUs, and that passion was passed on to Jonathan. Jonathan was the staffer who worked on all that, and he continues and will continue to work for supporting our HBCUs. Magnificent schools that we have so many of in Georgia. It's our jewel in our crown. John also understands his generation's fights about college debt. It's a crippler. It holds so many back from starting a business. It holds so many back from risking moving careers and changing their direction and taking steps to get ahead. He's going to fight for student debt forgiveness, including caps on interest rates and linking federal student loan payments to incomes so that paying student loans is never a financial hardship. How can we cripple people by, I don't understand it. He's also going to work to expand access and the quality of education. And right now, the bee in his bonnet is with respect to this COVID evil epidemic. And the fact that he said to me that school funding has to be urgent right now, and it has to support those communities that are disproportionately affected by the COVID virus. And those communities are frequently poor and or with people of color. And that is a reality, and that has to be addressed. John gets it, and he's going to make a difference for us all. He knows a quality education is the key to upward mobility, and all of Georgia's children deserve the same opportunities and access to high-quality education. But to achieve these goals, we all need to vote. And when does early voting end? Friday. And John reminds me, and reminds all of us, that Tuesday is not election day. Instead, it's the last day to vote. So you need to get out there if you have not already voted and do it. Do not put your absentee ballot in the post. Even that was kind of iffy at the beginning when that nonsense was going on with the Postmaster General, wasn't it? I mean, another outrage. That was the outrage of a day for one day. Because the next day, what do we have? Another outrage. And the next day, what do we have? And the next day, what do we have? We can't even remember what they are anymore. Anyway, so find a drop box in your county to put your ballot. Do that. If you never received your absentee ballot, which happened to me back in June, go anyway to the polls. Tell them that you haven't received the absentee ballot. As I recall, I just had to sign something, and it was no big deal. And I got in there and I made my vote. That's not all. Once you've made that vote, you have to get at least 10 more friends who were not going to vote. So you got to ring up friends, and it doesn't count if you ring up a friend and he or she says, oh, I've already voted. No, you don't get them off your list that quickly. You got to find somebody else to get them to vote. This is absolutely critical, absolutely critical. Yeah, so would you agree with me that fundamentally, if we are going to live in United States of America, we have got to change this thing around. We have got to change this thing. I've had the good fortune of living in a lot of different countries. This is the country I chose for a lot of reasons, and I am just brokenhearted how I feel it's just gone down the rabbit hole. I was going to use another word, but we're being filmed. But anyway, and how many of us cried in 2016 when we realized what was happening? Absolutely. 24 hours for me. It was just awful. We've got to change this. We've got to become the United States of America again. And we need your help. And together we can win. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening for me. And what do we say? Vote your ass off. Thank you.
For wonderful and true remarks by our next Senator, John Ossoff. Next, we are bringing up a person who has been working with, we say, why not vote for the best? Why not vote for Warnock? Why not vote for Warnock? And that person is Yvonne Robinson, and she's coming up. She's Secretary-Treasurer of the Afl-Cio. You see two people in black and white shirts, Charlie Fleming and Yvonne Robinson. So she's going to come up right now for Reverend Afl-Cio Warnock.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All righty. So, Bedelia, I'm going to correct you because I have to do it to Charlie all the time. I'm Yvonne Brooks now. Yeah, and if my husband heard that, he'll be like, Robinson. So, I just want to welcome you all to the IBEW. We are housed in the building across the way. And I want to just one-up you, Ms. Ossoff here. Not only do my friends go vote, but my family has to check in with me no matter where they live. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, and I get calls and check-ins. They don't do early vote. My daughter showed me her early vote for Illinois. They have to check in. I threatened my son and his fiance, and they sent me their voter registration the next day. So we have to hold our families and our friends accountable. So let me tell you about Reverend Warnock. He is a friend of working people. I could say labor unions, but I want to say working people, because when I talk about the work that we do and the work that is valued, I not only talk about unions, but everybody else, because when everybody else's life is lifted up, union folks' work is lifted up. And whenever union folks' work is lifted up, everybody else's work is lifted up. So we are the reason. So if you see, maybe not Reverend Warnock, but other folks, now you'll see ads on TV about people who want to get rid of right to work. Well, we as working folks know what right to work really is. It isn't a right to work, it is a right to work for less. So they are targeting us, our endorsed candidates now, which is fine because we're getting attention. But they know that working families are important and are going to make the change. Reverend Warnock came from nothing. He came with a whole house full of folks down in the projects of Savannah. Now, I understand there were 10 of us, so I understand what it's like living in a house with a lot of people. You know, thank God my mother and father had union jobs, Teamsters, and were able to take care of us, but his mother and father worked hard to raise their 10, I think it was 10 too, because I think we talked about it. 12. And he understands what it's like to struggle. If you look at his commercials, most of those people in those commercials from Savannah are union people. He called the unions to say, I need people. And there are people in those commercials. And I was in Savannah this week, I can't remember what day it is, I'm everywhere. This week, and there's a guy that came up, he says, I'm a working person, and I'm on Reverend Warnock's face page, because I had my sign on. And I think that shows where he is with working families. He's a minister, he's ministered to working families and folks with the COVID. Now, I have 10 people in my family that have had COVID. Thank God they've all survived. So when I hear the other folks just brush it off, I just want to cry. Well, I don't want to cry. I just want to kick somebody. But we need somebody that sees that this is an issue and to deal with it. You cannot address an issue if you don't recognize the issue. And there are issues. My family don't have the money to get the special needs drugs. I mean, thank God. You know, my brother was on the ventilator for 3 weeks. He made it through. But I only say that to say that we need people that care about our families. Our families. And, you know, I know I'm talking about Warnock, but John Ossoff is my friend too. And he and Warnock together will kick butt. Will kick butt. They are so scared of Georgia right now, they don't know what to do. If you listen to any, Georgia's name, our name has never came up like this. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing because they recognize that we are a force to be reckoned with. And if you and your family keep coming out, fighting, voting, and making sure that people are protected that are trying to fight and vote, then we can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
I just got a note from some of the retired teachers, and I see a lot of officers here asking us on voting day to make sure that we wear pearls in honor of whom? In honor of our late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Ginsburg, that we wear pearls. Ladies, on November 3rd, if you have some pearls, please put them on. Now, it gives me the greatest honor, it really does, to bring one of the newest members of the mighty dynamic trio that's responsible for the 2 million members of the American Federation of Teachers. We wouldn't be here without these officers. I will introduce the other one in a few minutes. But this newest member, is a Southerner, y'all, a Southern gentleman. And he knows how to make music literally. He's a band director. He's from the state that we are going to win, the state of Florida. With no further ado, let me bring to you my friend, Frederick Ingram, the new Secretary-Treasurer of the American Federation of Teachers.
Hey, thank you. Atlanta in the house. Atlanta in the house. Better than that. Listen, when I say fired up, y'all say ready to go. Fired up? Fired up? Now, it started like that a long time ago now, so we got to do a little bit better than that. Fired up? Fired up? Fired up? Good, good, good. Hey, listen, so I feel like I'm at home already. So listen, I'm right next door in Florida. We got the same politics, okay? And listen, I feel like I'm reading George Orwell's books, right? I'm in the swing state of Georgia. Can't be in the swing state of Georgia. Are we gonna make this happen? The swing state of Georgia. Never in my lifetime would I thought I'd say anything quite like that. Listen, you guys are fantastic because you're working your ass off. That's what you're doing. You guys are working it out here. This because of you, each and every one of you that's placing those votes that are record numbers. We've got to make this election too big to rig. Because they will take it from us. When I say too big, you say too rig. Too big? Too big? Too big? Too big? It's gotta be too big to rig. We've gotta win this thing outright. We can win 50 states. We can win every county. We can win every Senate district. We can win every House district. We can win every school board. We can win every dog catcher. We gotta do it because everything is on the balance. Guess what? Guess what? They're talking about our kids. They're talking about your grandkid. Decency and honor and justice is on this ballot right now. You can't even look at the television and watch the President of the United States deliver an address. What kind of shame is that in our country? What kind of shame is that to our community? A man who has dismissed the problems of the South and African American communities out of hand. We have got to do better than that. This is a country that stands for better for everybody. Joe Biden says we're going to build back better. Build back better. Build back better. And guess what he did? He went and picked the baddest sister on the planet to be his running mate. Her name is Kamala what? Kamala? For everything that we've represented in our lifetime. So let me just give you some, let me take you back in history real quick. We know when the election is, November 3rd, don't forget that, right? Everybody say it with me, November 3rd? November 3rd, November 3rd. Good, let me give you 2 dates. November 4th, 2008. November 4th, 2008. I know where I was when Barack Obama said, I'm the President of the United States. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? You remember how you felt? You remember how good that felt? You remember just feeling the out-of-body experience that it could never happen in this country? You remember that? Now let me take you back to November 8th, 2016. You remember how you felt, Ms. Afl-Cio? You mentioned it. November 8th, 2016, you remember how you felt? You remember how low you felt? You remember asking yourself, what have we done? You remember asking yourself, where are we going? Do you remember asking yourself, how could this happen in America? I want you to know that next week, 1 week from today, you will ask your question, what did you do? History is being made in front of your eyes. Right now, we always look back at the history books and we get grown, right? Oh, if I was there, that wouldn't have happened to me. I would have did this, I would have did that. Your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids are going to ask you a question. When 2020 was going to hell in a handbasket, Granddaddy, what did you do? Grandmommy, what did you do? Tell me your story. Tell me what you did to make things right. Tell me that you tried to give me a better world. Tell me that you did everything that you possibly could to make these schools better. Tell me that you did everything that you possibly could to support our teachers. Tell me that you did everything that you possibly could to support our frontline workers and our healthcare workers and our health tech workers and get money into poor communities so that we can all live the American dream. Tell me, Granddaddy, tell me, Grandmama, you did that for me. That's what they're going to ask you. And so I'm asking you today, don't be the one to wake up on November 4th, 2020 and said, I wish I would have made another call. I wish I would have voted. I wish I would have got 5 more people. I wish Atlanta would have swung just a little bit more. I wish Georgia could have done just a little bit more. Because you know, like in Florida, we win these elections by 1%. Less than 1%. Don't be the one not to go to your family member, not to urge them on, not to make them show you their voter registration. The House of Labor is here. Thank you for having us. We appreciate that. You got great candidates. Mr. Warnock, let's give him a big round of applause. Mr. Ossoff, let's give him a big round of applause. We got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that are leading the ticket to change the course and direction of this country. And so as I leave here today, I'm telling you, I walk with one of the greatest labor leaders in America. Randy Weingartner has been at this for a really long time. She knows what she's doing. She knows what strategy is. She's not afraid to get out there. In the middle of a pandemic, she asked me and her staff to go from Los Angeles, California to Miami, Florida in 32 days. Over 3,500 miles. We're not finished yet, and we won't finish until November 3rd when the polls close. That's what the AFT is doing to make sure that we get involved in this election. And so to many of you who are members of the AFT, longtime members of the AFT, we thank you. Thank you for your service to kids. Thank you for your service to our communities. Many of you are parents. Thank you for supporting us. This year, our members are going through hell all over this country. They are scared. They are being intimidated. They are being bullied. They are going in an uncertain, just think about this. Think about your best memory of being in school, whatever grade, is starting the school year off, and think about what our kids are having to go through right now. And think about the Secretary of Education, Mama Angie, the worst Secretary of Education America has ever seen, Betsy DeVos, having no plan, having no national strategy, not saying one word in a positive direction for our public schools. What kind of criminal is that? What kind of shame is that? What kind of country is that when we have zero leadership from the top? The American Federation of Teachers is driving the force because we know we have been marching, Black Lives Matter, the Women's March, all of these things that you see out there, but you can't do one thing without the ballot box. You gotta go vote. You gotta go vote. You gotta go vote. So I'll leave you with this. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my absolute honor. This little kid from the hood in Miami was educated by some public school teachers like some of y'all. If you can do it for me, think about the little kid in the hood in Atlanta, in DeKalb County, or Cobb County, or Fulton County, or Decatur County. Just think about the little kid who deserves the honor of being somebody that they cannot see right now. They need you. They need you at the ballot box. Thank you so much on behalf of AFT.
Reverend and First Lady Kroom and Frankie and Ms. Glover and Senator Ford and Zan, I'm not going to start even calling names. But how many of us know that great things come in little packages? When I came to the AFT in 1984, we had Big Al, the teacher's pal. However, this nation has been led by the greatest educator in my time, This woman fights relentlessly for the resources for those who cannot even speak for themselves. Not just for teachers, but for all of our families. We almost say she's a saint. She didn't pay me to say this, y'all. But I can't say enough about Randy Weingartner. Randy learns, she's a continuous learner. She's a great educator. She's a wonderful person. Let me bring before you one of the most magnanimous people we know for all of our schools, for all of our people in the United States of America. The president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingartner.
You know, I wish I had the feet that could wear those Chucks. You know, it's Skechers for me. So I am really glad to be here. I'm glad to be, you know, I would never be able to say that on tape because I would have like video, like, so, but I love that. And when I'm not on tape, I'm going to say, you say it for me. Fight your ass off. I got it, right? Because now I've become Australian. Fight your ass off. Did I get it right? I will never forget that. But we have to get John Ossoff elected as senator from Georgia. And we have to get Reverend Warnock into the runoff and then elected as a senator from Georgia. And we have to help all of these folks that are here, Charlie and Verdelia, and everyone else who is in this room and up here with me, because it is true, all of a sudden, Georgia is a swing state. It's not all of a sudden. It's because of all of you and what has happened that has made Georgia something that everyone is now focused on. That Joe Biden would have been here twice yesterday, 2 times in Atlanta and in Warm Springs, right? Where FDR was. But Kamala was here. Every single day, Joe Biden was here. What happened? What have you done to make that possible? Everything. And what will we do to actually get through the finish line? Which sometimes is the hardest few steps. Because this is a paradigm shift in Georgia. What's happened is for years and years and years, and sorry, I'm an old social studies teacher. What's happened over the course of time is that people are tired of repression. People are tired of being stomped on. But all of a sudden what has happened, and we've learned this in the teacher strikes, not the teacher strikes in New York City where I come from, not even the teacher strikes in Miami-Dade where Fed comes from. What we've seen in the teacher strikes in West Virginia and Oklahoma is something that we know in the union movement so much, it's a part of our creed, that together we can accomplish what is impossible to accomplish alone. When we feel alone, which in some ways COVID does to us big time, you feel isolated. You feel like there's no power. You feel scared by the yackers on Fox or Trump who tries to create code every day of division and hatred. You wonder, is it worth it? So much in 2016 were people saying, can we really change anything? is she really going to help us change things? Some of us who knew Hillary know Hillary. No, she would. But that cynicism, that sense that it couldn't change, it wouldn't change. The people like Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, people who, frankly, knew what was happening with COVID because the government, Trump and his allies, told them, so they took their money out of the stock market, while at the same time Trump was telling the world, oh, don't worry about it. The people who support them, the people who, even during COVID, as 8 million more people have been kicked into poverty, as so many people, 19 million more people are unemployed that don't want to be unemployed right now, as we've seen our economy shattering, who are the winners? The billionaires in this country just made $500 billion while the rest of the country, think about every single school child right now. Think about the option of every single parent, every single teacher. There's no good choices right now. And I'm not even getting to the families who not only have had people who are sick, like I bet most of us here. I never forget the day that my sister called me and said, Emmy has COVID. Thank God she's fine. But think about the families who have lost people, where you can't even go to a funeral on Zoom, where we can't even go and hold someone's hand when they are taking their last breath. The whole notion of I can't breathe, from George Floyd to the hundreds of thousands of people now who have died. And yet, the rich in this country have made $500 billion more, and Donald Trump has surrendered to this virus and pretends that it doesn't affect anybody. For that, he should be defeated. And I can go on and on. I did love when Obama said yesterday, by the way, as only he can, when he teased and said, COVID, 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 COVID. I guess what the president doesn't like, meaning Obama talking about Trump, is that COVID gets more PR than Trump does. But my point, and I can go over and over any issue, in this state, the repression, the division, the keeping people apart, that's what kept the elections the way they were. And then, when there was a rising electorate, you had people like your current governor who would suppress the vote and suppress the vote and suppress the vote, rig it in a way that we could never get over that top. We could never get to that finish line. We were stumbling before we got to the end. This year, it's different. This year, it's different. A lot of the people who were like, well, I don't know, doesn't matter. People knows it matters. Think about Martin Luther King. I used this last book, Chaos versus Community. Think about what he said in that question about chaos. He said it in a different time, in different moments, versus community. Atlanta, the people who are on the line to vote, the people who are fighting for a better life, the people in the labor movement, the people who believe in public education, the people who believe that we have to fight racism, the people who believe that we have to fight for decent wages and maintain Social Security and Medicare. That's part of the beloved community. That's what we're fighting for. And we're fighting against the chaos of Donald Trump. The lying, the deprivation, the callousness. Really? He can't even manage to say about the kids whose parents they cannot find, I'm sorry. He can't manage to say to the 225,000 families, I'm sorry. He can't manage to do anything but fight for only himself and lie about everything else. The chaos is what he thrives on. And when it's not the chaos, it's the division and the hatred. Yes, we've had really tough times. But when has a president of the United States of America out and out promoted white supremacy and militias to watch who was voting in all over the country? And when have you had a president who doesn't believe in science? So the question really is for all of us, are we, and do we, want this enough and want to change things enough that we're going to run through the finish line this time? That we won't just get too close, as Stacey Abrams did, as John did in his congressional race, but we're going to get through the finish line. And if you're a runner, which I used to be, but I'm not anymore, but if you're a runner, you know those last few minutes, they are the hardest. You can't even see the finish line because it's well beyond Senator Ford. It's like, it's there, but you can't see it. You know it's there. You're sweating. You're tired. If you're an asthmatic like me, you're not breathing well. And you're running, but you know there's that goal. Science versus fiction. Decency versus division. Hope versus fear. Community versus chaos. It's 6 days. We are there. You see the polling. And the question really is, and I'm sure everyone in this room has already voted, how do we go through the roster in our heads of everyone else we know? Because they listen to you. This is why the right wing hates teachers so much, because they know we have such influence. They listen to you. Do we want to keep protecting pre-existing conditions? Do we want to have health care as a right? They listen to you. Do we want to make sure we fight the disease and get our kids back to school and ourselves back to school, but safely? Do we want to make sure we have public education for everyone? Do we want to make sure we have the kind of programs to fight student debt, for free college, for everyone to be entitled to a union, for Social Security, for the expansion of Medicare and Medicaid? If we want that, that's what we have to, the marathon, the last few days, because it's close here. And you know what they will do, because it's close. So, end of early vote is Friday. The big last day is Tuesday. No more putting anything in the mail, because it won't get there. Now it's about getting everybody we know to vote. Vote early by Friday or vote on Tuesday with our masks, with our sanitizers, being 6 feet away from each other. But do we want to win? Do we want to win? Do we want to win? Are we going to vote? Are we going to get other people out to vote? Are we going to do it every single day in the next few days? Are we going to do it like our life depends on it? And then, we will not yet be able to rest, because then we're going to have to count every vote. Then we're going to have to count every vote. Then we're going to have to make sure that we defend the democracy in every way we know how, as John Lewis would have expected us to do. Are we ready to get out the vote? Are we ready to defend the vote? Are we ready to count every vote? And are we ready to win for a better day? Thank you.
We thank you all for coming. I think Randy might be here for a few minutes. I have to recognize Ms. Sewell, DeKalb County Democrats, Beulah Baptist Church, so many others I see here, friends, teachers from UFT, retired people, Zan Ford, our friend with all of that energy over there. There's just so many friends, y'all. I'm here, Mr. Beasley, which is one of our officers, Frankie, one of our officers, I think Ms. Basie, the FFT president back there, Wendy Hopper. There's just so many people. Listen, we're gonna win Georgia. So get ready, we're gonna celebrate, but let's go get every vote out. Thank you for coming.